Hi everyone, it's the 10th of December and this is Eloquent NaPodPoMo. Now I know what you're all thinking, how are we doing a NaPodPoMo episode on in any day in December, let alone the 10th of December? I said I wanted to do a summary episode, so here it is. I'm going to do a quick summary. I don't want to take ages, but I always like doing a wrap-up. Projects at work, it's always good to do what lessons have we learned, what should we have done differently, what did we do well, what do we want to build on for next time. So this is a little bit like that. I did 30 episodes in total, plus the episode 0, and then this one, so 32 in total. Not including this and the episode 0, the average length of an episode is 4 minutes and 25 seconds. It's quite surprising. There's so many on the list that are 3.5 minutes, 3 minutes 20, 3 minutes 40. I was expecting it to be somewhere around 3.5 minutes, but 4:25. I think those 2 or 3 towards the end that were fairly long really helped add to the average. The average file size was 3.5 meg, but the file sizes are very clearly very different amongst the whether it was recorded on my phone or whether it was recorded on my desktop setup, so that makes a big difference. I want to say thanks to everyone who sent in questions as it went through. I got some really good questions about my setup, about the amount of time I spent, about the differences between the episodes, plus some of that, what people wanted to hear about the background of Eloquent Gushing or my thoughts on elements of the process itself. So thanks to everyone who listened, obviously. But thanks for the questions. It's always great having that feedback and knowing what people would like to hear. I think every podcaster would like to know a bit more about that, so really good to hear. And yes, thanks to everyone who listened. A surprising number of people listened to this. I was expecting it to be, a high of 3. So I was quite overwhelmed actually with some of the feedback and with the number of people who seemed to be downloading it, at least. Whether they listened or not, who knows? The episodes were short, so hopefully they did hear them. Particularly thanks to my fiance who put up with me doing this, and the occasional times where it was 11:30, I went, oh, I haven't done that thing. Perhaps I should go and do it now. So I had to sneak off and get the recording done. Also, I had some really great feedback from everyone about the style of it, which I didn't expect to get. So people talking about how I did this in a very conversational style, which I'm trying to do now, and it's almost harder because I'm thinking about it. But I think certainly when I record things with someone else, I'm thinking about what I'm saying, and we're taking a pause between saying stuff so we can get our thoughts right. So it's a little less spontaneous. And then you put on your telephone voice doing it because you're speaking to someone else. So I go, hello, I'm coming in for a podcast now, and I'm going to speak with my typical Surrey accent. How do you do? It was interesting how recording this didn't become a habit. I almost expected it would, and I would be, time to do that thing. I did a blog back in 2010, 2011 and 2012, a daily blog, so it had to be written at 11 o'clock every day, about a game called Halo Reach. That very much became habit, and even now, I still have a slight twang at 11 o'clock of like, I've got a thing to do. Oh no, I don't. I shut it down because it got absolutely arduous. This podcast didn't quite get to that, but it did become a job to do, so I did at least remember it every day. There was that one day in the middle of the month where I couldn't do it, but that was because I didn't have my charger and my phone died, so, I could have done the podcast, but no one would have heard it, so not so useful for the whole project. It was really interesting how it transitioned. It started being about the day, so what have I done that day, and a little bit of insight into the process, and then became more, I think, more of an insight into the decisions about podcasting, so why I use certain software, why I include certain things, why I edit in a certain way, why I record in a certain way, and some of the decisions that I've made with Mandy in setting up the network and doing it in the way that we do. So that was quite interesting. I think part of that was driven by the questions, so trying to think, this is going to be dull for people if they have to listen every day to me saying, well, I edited a document today. So offering something up that was a little bit more interesting, a little bit different each day. It gave me a few ideas on how to integrate more podcasting work into my life, particularly just the idea of reducing the amount of time I spend each day, but doing a bit more, making sure it's done every day. So how to explain that better? This was something very short every day, but I was able to get it done every day. I usually think, okay, I need to go and work on a podcast, so I need to spend an hour, concerted effort, looking things up, researching, watching, reading, whatever. Actually, I could be doing it for 10, 15 minutes, getting a bit done, and then moving on, and making more assured progress than if I spent 1 hour a week. 15, 20 minutes a day is actually going to be much better. So I think that's how I will use this going forward, and one of the big learning experiences for me. And the other thing I particularly learned from this is how to use some of the sites that we use much better, much quicker, what settings I do and don't have to use. I should probably throw in an apology to Mandy for the times that I didn't do the settings right. She's had to do a little bit of clean-up work where I posted a couple of episodes to other sites that we output to just for Pop Culturally Deprived, but we don't do the other podcasts to them. I forgot to uncheck those boxes on a couple of days, so thank you, Mandy. I'm really sorry. Whoops. But in general, I can record and post within a minute or two now, and that's posting to both Libsyn and WordPress, so getting the content up and then getting the post on the RSS feed. Really useful to have learned how to do that in a much more efficient manner, and not worry about, right, the artwork needs to go in, because I now know the artwork's already loaded and how it's going to be picked up. So I think it's going to help me be more efficient in the future. So that's really good. So I'm not going to be doing this anymore. I'm going to finish this up now. I am going to continue working on that Discworld series that I want to do. I went to the Terry Pratchett exhibition, the His World exhibition in Salisbury, which was fascinating, and so many quotes that I will now be putting back into those scripts. I suspected there would be some of that, but there was so much more than I even predicted there would be, because a lot of the notes there were written by him. No, I think knowing this exhibition was going to be done at some point, I feel like I've had more writings of Terry Pratchett available to me. So that was an excellent experience. We've got a couple of surprises coming up this month, some interesting things that we're working on, and a couple of things just talking to other people that I might look to do some extra recordings, probably for Patreon. But we've got some interesting things going on. So I have more podcasting stuff coming up that's a bit different than normal. So that's always exciting. So I'm sure I'll do something more for this next month. Not next month. Next month is January. I'm sure I'll do something more for this next year. Where when we get back round to NaPodPoMo, maybe Mandy and I will both do something. Maybe we'll do something different each. Maybe she'll want to do something and I cannot have to do anything. But I really did enjoy doing it. So I think I will want to think up something else. Not necessarily this exact thing, but something that we can post. Perhaps I do a recording each day, but only post one a week as a set of them. I know there are a few people out there who said they binged it, which is an interesting way to listen to these podcasts. But yeah, it probably works a bit better than just 3 minutes in your day randomly in between an episode of, Serial and My Brother and Me. That would be a bit strange. So don't forget to check out the other podcasts. Pop Culturally Deprived this week is The Muppet Christmas Carol, so you will remember me editing that a few weeks ago. That is out on Tuesday. And Across the Arrowverse, we've just finished watching the crossover episode, so we're going to be recording that tomorrow and publishing that as well. So that's going to be a big... One of the reasons that podcast exists is for the crossover episode, so that's quite exciting. Mandy's launched her new podcast, Southern Fried Pop Culture, so that's worth checking out. Really interesting, really fun discussion between two very, very smart ladies. And I'm sure I will be doing more stuff in the future, so follow me on Twitter @MatthewVose, follow me on Instagram @MatthewVose81, I think, Facebook /MatthewVose81. But basically look up Matthew Vose in most social media networks, and I will be there. I try to get my handle straight away because I like being actually me on social media. So thanks a lot to everyone who listened. Thanks for all the encouragement. Thanks for all the feedback. Thanks for all the questions. It made such a difference to be able to do this and knowing people were listening and people were interested in it. So I've really enjoyed it. I hope you have. And thank you very much. I will speak to you next year.